Did you know that Gandhi had bilingual kids? In fact, he had 4 sons who were multilingual like he was. And Gandhi said something that can serve as a kind of warning to other parents who want to raise bilingual children. Gandhi said, "The future depends on what you do today." If you have a bilingual aim, your child's language ability in the future depends on what you're actually doing today, not what you say you're going to do tomorrow. Bilingual success is a day-by-day process, and every day is important. In fact, when I send out my email newsletter, and if you're not getting it already, you can sign up at the link below. But I usually close this newsletter with the words, day by day. It's the only way. I'm Adam Beck, and this is Bilingual Super Kids, the channel that can help you maximize your success and your joy raising bilingual or multilingual kids. For a parent, time is strangely elastic. With babies and toddlers, the days and sleepless nights can feel so long, and yet the years with older children speed past so quickly. My kids are now 20 and 17, and I sometimes stop and look at them and think, what happened? Weren't they just in diapers last week? Now it won't be long before they're changing my diapers. The 18 years of childhood may seem to stretch on forever at times, for children too. But when your kids are older, you'll feel what I feel right now, that the whole thing is like a very brief dream. And the hard truth is, the distance we travel over these 18 years can depend significantly on the actions we take or fail to take in the first few years. Of course, it's always possible to make up ground later. But the fact remains our influence on our children's language development is strongest early on, when the window of language acquisition is also at its widest. As children get older, they grow more independent and they become more immersed in the world of the majority language, which means that the time and energy available for the minority language can shrink substantially. Do you dream of bringing up your children in both languages simultaneously so you can foster the second language from the start and communicate with them in this language throughout their childhood? But at the same time, your surroundings offer limited exposure to the minority language, and your children will likely attend a local majority language school. And to make this even more challenging, maybe you can't even spend as much time with your child as you'd like, because you're working much of the day. When my kids were small, all of these things were true for me, and so I knew I had to be very proactive about my bilingual aim. If you also face challenging conditions, but you truly want to maximize your bilingual success, you have to take full advantage of the first few formative years. That's the period of time when children are most primed for language acquisition, and you have the most influence on their language development. If you want to promote the strongest progress possible, and yet your child's exposure to the minority language is mainly your responsibility, you have to hit the ground running. The bilingual journey is a marathon, it's true, and you can't burn yourself out early on. But if you begin too slowly from the starting line, you'll fall behind fast. The first few years of a child's life, when so much language development is brewing inside that little brain, are the foundation for your success. If the odds are against you in terms of your circumstances, you have to shift them in your favor by being proactive and doing everything in your power so that your child receives as much exposure to the minority language as possible. The reality is, if there isn't ample exposure in the minority language, the development of this language will rapidly fall behind the relentless progress of the majority language. Then before you know it, the child is 3 or 4, and the majority language is already much stronger and has become the child's main means of communication. At that point, you abruptly realize that your aim of simultaneous bilingualism where the child can communicate actively in both languages, isn't taking shape as you had originally hoped. Then you're forced to play catch up with the minority language, which can be very challenging, especially when you're trying to do this on your own. That's one big reason I offer personal coaching to parents, to help them overcome this problem by generating more momentum and more progress for the minority language. But to avoid this predicament and all the disappointment and frustration it can create, it's far better to start strong and make daily efforts to promote the development and use of the minority language so that the majority language doesn't become overly dominant. In other words, keep Gandhi's advice firmly in mind. The future depends on what you do today. At the same time, let me stress that there's nothing wrong with resetting your expectations if you need to, if you find that your original goal is beyond your capacity. After all, passive ability in the minority language, where the child generally understands the language but doesn't yet have enough ability or desire to speak it actively, is still a really important achievement. And that passive ability can potentially be activated at a later stage. But if it's important to you, truly important to you, that your child acquire both languages simultaneously so you can communicate in your mother tongue or your second language for the life of your relationship, then you must be mindful of the actual size of this challenge and make certain that your efforts match the scale of your aim. And if you're unsure how much effort is really enough to achieve the success that you're seeking, I have a video about that too. Watch this video for my thoughts on this central question, which goes right to the heart of this whole challenge of raising bilingual kids.